Strap yourself in and get ready. The leaders in BBL SuperCoach are incoming. Running in off the back fence to give you the ultimate insight to help you dominate your mates and climb up in the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight BBL Show with your hosts, Braino and Horse.
G'day guys, welcome back. You're watching another Insights BBL show. We're coming to the end of round 4. Currently got the final game on at the moment of round 4, and round 5 is on our doorstep. Braino and Horse in the studio. Horse, how you going in round 4, mate? How's things been over the last few days?
From a lifestyle perspective, really good. Couple of tins, mate. Nice and warm here in central Victoria. I've even decided to give myself a little bit of a shave for those of you that love the bristles. So, yeah, sun's out, guns out. But for my super coach, not real great. Jamie Overton is captain as per the 84% of the community. Decided to hold on to and potentially play Matt Short today, even though he didn't play. So I'm 1 down. So I'm going to have to cop whatever from my lowest possible or the lowest score I've got on field. How are you going?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I think I probably had a better week than the last 2 weeks combined. I'm currently on 886 with this game obviously still in play. So, yeah, not a bad week. Not a bad week. I've never had Matt Short, so I feel like maybe that was the one thing that I've got up on you. But in saying that, if he's back next week, we're going to have to free up some cash to probably try and get him in somehow, because he's a guy you want on the singles, and they're starting to come up now from next round. So it's very interesting, isn't it? What from next week onwards, what everything's going to look like, because all of the front-ended doubles are now done.
Yeah, you're right. We've only got the Hurricanes in round 8 and the Thunder in round 6, who we'll talk about earlier as the players that we are going to want to target for round 6 and round 8. But another thing we're going to get into later, and that is Mother Nature. She may play a factor this week.
Yes, very relevant. We've been very lucky so far with the weather, but that might change come round 5. So you're going to have to be thinking on your feet this round and make sure you're fluid with your trade. So we'll have a chat about that a little bit more when we talk about our buy, hold, and sell targets. But guys, if you haven't yet, please hit subscribe. Please hit like. We would appreciate it. That does help us get the show out to more people and grow the podcast. So if you can hit the subscribe button at the bottom and the like it, we would love that. And if you're listening on audio, follow, leave us a review if you like the content. We'd love that. Now, guys, round 5 is now the last round that you can join the Unlimited League. The code is 650202. 650202. It's on the screen there for you. You can win a championship ring from SuperCoach Rings, and you can also win a standard squeeze pack thanks to the standard squeeze for the top scorer in this league every single round. You cannot join after round 5. It's when it closes, and we're currently at how many, Horse?
I'll tell you in a sec. I was just looking it up as you were talking about it. 900
something.
And 42.
Oh, okay. So are we still doing something special for if we get to 1,000? I think we should.
Yeah, if we get to 1,000, yes. But if not, I think we'll reward the people who have already joined, and we'll pick out a random winner.
Yeah, I like it. We'll give away some merch. So a piece of merch from our merch store of your choice, randomized. If you're in the top 10, you'll go into the randomizer to win some merch as well.
I like that.
And if we get to 1,000, yeah, sure. We'll find something else. But I'm sure there's 58 people here that haven't joined that'll jump in. But get involved. Free stuff to win. Now, of course, we're still cooking on Patreon. We've got Patreon stuff coming up left, right, and center. We're doing buy, hold, and sell articles for our subscribers. We've got a WhatsApp chat that pops off every single day. We're answering all of your questions exclusively in there, as we obviously aren't doing it on podcasts anymore. So jump in and you can still become a member. It only costs you $6 a month. So for the final month, for the rest of January, sign up for 1 month, cancel after that, and you've got the rest of the season. So jump on in, get involved in that. Now, Horse, tonight's show, interesting one, mate. We've got some news, obviously, around the grounds. We know BBL news comes thick and fast, so we'll cover all of that, cover all the injury news as well. We're going to recap everything in round 4, who's hot, who's cold, and we'll preview all of the games ahead of round 5 as well, and dive into a bit of the ownership and looking at the players, not just from the Thunder and the Hurricanes who are coming up on doubles, but looking at maybe the players we should be getting out, as we call it, Marie Kondo week, Horse, because it's cleanup week.
It is cleanup week, yes. Clean up in aisle 5.
Yes, that sounds like my team at the moment. I've got a bit of dead wood to get rid of. So I'm sure many of us out there, your Liam Scotts, your James Baisleys, your Will Salzman, who becomes kind of irrelevant after next week. So you've got a lot of cleaning up to do and a lot of things that we need to do there to fix our teams up coming into the run home, I should say. So we'll talk about that. We'll give our game day squad of the round as we always do, and we'll talk VCC and loophole options as well. But Horse, let's get into the latest news.
It's time for some news from around the league. And
of course, like every other week, it's brought to you by Ryan from Astute Newstead. For those of you first home, free up some cash, or want to get in and you want to renovate, whatever it is, Ryan can help you from Astute Newstead. All you need to do is jump into the link below. It's in our description. Give him the code INSIGHT. Let him know that we sent you, and he'll look after you. He'll do all the heavy lifting for you. So that's Ryan from Astute Newstead. We thank him for his support. We've worked with him personally, got us into our dream homes that we're sitting in right now. So thanks to Ryan, but I'm sure that he'll be able to help everybody else out there as well. Avid super coacher, hates cricket though. So I've had a break from Hamo as of late, the last few weeks.
It's been nice, hasn't it?
Yeah, we get peppered in football season, don't we?
You know what? He likes hockey. He can go and jump.
Yeah, terrible sport. Let's get into the news, mate. What's on the docket?
There's heaps going on today, mate. Bo Webster named in the Australian squad for the Sydney Test. Congratulations, and well earned. If anyone has seen the way that he's been playing both with bat and ball, not just this year, but last year as well, his selection is well and truly overdue. Mitch Marsh dropped, and we're going to have to keep an eye out as to whether he stays with the Test squad or whether he's going to be available for the Perth Scorchers, Braino. So that's one to watch for sure.
Yeah, I think there's I think he probably stays with the squad just because he's been such a big part of it for so long. And also the fact that, as we just see another wicket there, Fergus O'Neill gets caught in the deep off Henry Thornton, takes his third wicket. I think because he's been such a big part of what they're doing, and he also has been playing quote unquote sore. There's been talk about him not being able to bowl in the second test and all that kind of stuff. I don't see him going back and playing BBL. I see him probably trying to get his body right for the upcoming Sri Lanka tour. I don't think he's going to be available. But it is worth talking about for sure if he does come into availability. Mate, your boy Jack Edwards, we were worried about his, what we call it, hamstring awareness. We didn't really need to worry, did we? He bowled 4 overs. He did bat 6, though. So maybe a little bit of a concern moving forward around his batting, but the bowling looked fine. And you know what? The Sixers batting, even though Patterson, looked okay the other night, didn't look as strong without him batting up the order. So interested to see what happens with the Sixers game next if they get on. But the man that was added to Supercoach at the last minute and was it, I believe, 0% ownership, Dan Lawrence, who I don't know for what reason has been added at 152K. When we're looking at all other players who have been added late, were added at 117K or around the mark. He's got a 100% success rate with the Melbourne Stars, Braino. That's something that not many people that have played for the Melbourne Stars can say for this year. It's true. And you know what? The Stars still haven't lost a game this year, which is really impressive for them. So you never know. Maybe they'll continue. Maybe they'll continue on. But I wouldn't be betting on that too much. But speaking of Dan Lawrence, everybody that, is a Maxwell fan probably isn't a Dan Lawrence fan because it looks like he's kind of stole his role somewhat. He did bowl 1 over where I'd say Maxi would have bowled the over if Dan Lawrence wasn't in the team. So he did steal an over from Maxi, and Maxi dropped down to 6 in the batting order, which is a bit of a concern. What are your thoughts on Maxi and what we do with him next week?
Well, I dropped him this week thinking that with the role that was potentially on the horizon, that I didn't think he was worth a 200-odd K, but let me put it in perspective for you, or a little bit of a sunshine on the horizon, so to speak. If Dan Lawrence didn't take that over, then potentially we wouldn't have seen one of the best catches we've seen in the BBL.
It's true. Fuck, that was a seriously good catch.
We
were watching it live in the chat and we've all just popped off at the same time. That was insane. Just to be able to do what he did, mid-air, one-handed, over the boundary, flick it back mid-air, run back in. And the amount of skill that you have to throw it back into the field just high enough to run back in at your own pace and catch the ball is just godlike. That is insane.
It's unreal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very, very impressive. It's up there with the best catch I've ever seen, I think. But yeah, Dennis in the chat saying he doesn't really look that healthy. He did. It did look like when he was fielding a ball in the outfield, he got up and pointed at the physio a little bit, and he looked a little bit ginger. Apparently, what that was he's had an ankle that he's strapped up pretty much every game of his career for the last few years, and it went on him a little bit when he was fielding. So I would like to think if it's just a little niggling injury with an ankle, I think he'll push through that, because ankle sprains usually recover pretty quickly. So let's hope that he can come good, because Ange in the chat is spot on. It's very scary fading Maxi. I'm not a guy that will want to do it unless there's a lot of upside for me, and I don't know whether at his price you're going to get too much. Like, he's going to lose about 25k this week. He's going to be down to 180.
Yep.
If you sell him at 240, sure, but 180 is starting to diminish in value for what we know he can provide our teams. So speaking of diminishing value, Matt Short obviously didn't play this round, about the 248k mark with a broken toe. So I suppose good news for people that held like yourself, Horse. There's every chance he could be back next round.
Yeah, there is. And it's his back foot too, which means that he's still going to be able to, if he wants to bowl, it won't affect his bowling too much, Braino.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. I'd like to think that if he does play, they're going to numb him up with needles and things like that. But it's a pain tolerance thing, I would assume, for the most part. So he just won't be doing too much running, which we know that Matt Short, when he hits him, doesn't usually run too hard anyway. So I think, I think we should be all right.
That's right.
Benny Duckett, mate, did a thumb, got a golden. Not a very good day for Ben Duckett yesterday.
No, back on the shelf, mate. Off you go. But you know who's back? Michael Nisa. He's back. I'm going to ask you something, Braino. I have Paul Walter, and with the news of Nessa coming back and the way Walter's been bowling, I think he's going to be a sell for me. How do you think Nessa is going to affect Paul Walter's role?
Look, we're looking. This Heat team is looking incredibly similar from a bowling perspective, incredibly similar to their winning team last year. So for me, I don't know whether this negatively affects him at all. I think that we saw what Paul Walter did last year for the Heat. He had the same role Nisa was playing in the majority of those games where he scored well. They still had the same bowling lineup for the most part. Spencer Johnson, Xavier Bartlett, the two spinners in Kuhneman and Swepson. Like, why would his role change now just because Nisa's coming in? I think that he probably replaces someone like a Presswich who was bowling overs anyway. So for any Paul Walter owners out there a little bit worried about Nisa, I probably wouldn't be. I think you can probably, yes, he's been out of form, and I'm definitely not saying to hold him, because I think, unfortunately, you might have to cut your losses on him just based on how he's been playing. But role-wise, I don't think you should worry too much about Nisa coming into the team.
No.
Speaking about someone you probably should worry about, though, is Aaron Hardy, who has had two pretty ordinary knocks, 2 starts to his BBL 14 season. The question becomes, do we potentially buy low on Aaron Hardy, knowing that he's kind of gone unders and lost some cash? He playing at Optus. We know he loves batting at Optus Stadium on a flat deck. They played their next 2 games in Perth. Can we buy low on Aaron Hardy, just knowing what he can provide?
He's going to lose, 20, 25K? He had a break even of 90 and scored 2, was it, this round? Like, he didn't score that much. So the question is, if I said to you that you could potentially buy Aaron Hardy for 145K, would you?
Not bowling, no. I think if he jumps under 120, yes. I think that would probably be the marker for me to buy him. I just think that there's so many good cash generation options coming up, and obviously loading up on Thunder players and all that kind of stuff, where Thunder will play a game next round, where there's a couple of question marks around a couple of games next round because of the weather. So look, for me, I'm probably waiting on Hardy to drop a little bit more if he does.
Yep.
Or get news that he bowls, because at the moment the news is that he's not going to bowl until mid-January.
That's right.
So, and we've got Damo here saying Channel 10 Perth reported that the Scorchers coach Adam Voges is hopeful of getting Mitch Marsh and Jai Richardson back for the BBL, which would be great for the BBL. I'd love to see both of them play. So,
yeah, and for those that love their footy, Damo runs a pretty good ship there at the Footy Mailbag as well. Work pretty closely with him, so do yourselves a favour and get across and have a look.
Yeah, footy season's not far away, so jump on in. Now, the availability for the international players has become clearer. We've got confirmation around a few of the players, and they've committed to this is when I'm leaving, or this is how many games I'm playing. So we've dropped that in for our subscribers. The one thing we'll tell you is that you can bank on the 2 Thunder players in Ferguson and Rutherford they'll be playing both of their games of the Sydney Thunder round 6 double before they leave. So if you want to get the rest of that, you can jump in the Patreon, become a subscriber, and check out the article there. Horse, let's have a chat about round 4, mate, because I tell you what, it's been a bit of rocks or diamonds, but we are starting to get some scores come through. So let's do the rewind for round 4. So talk to me about the Melbourne Stars, because I don't even know how to look at this team anymore. They've been so incredibly inconsistent. Stoinis bowling and then not bowling. Curran's injured. No Webster. What's going on at the Melbourne Stars? Can we take anything from this from consistency standpoint?
I actually like the fact now that with Webster in the test squad, I feel more comfortable thinking that Stoinis will bowl himself. So, fuck, it's hard though, because they just change shit every fucking game, don't they? They're incredibly inconsistent. They don't know what they're doing. They had a good win the other night based off Dan Lawrence and Stoinis making, 90% of the runs. Everyone else shit the bed with the stick. Your guess is as good as mine. I feel like he'll bowl, but what's your opinion? What do you think?
We've got a couple of really good Patreon questions tonight that we'll answer at the end of the show, and one of them was, who are your best 10 all-rounders for the rest of the competition, or the best 10 roles for the rest of the competition? And I was looking through and looking at the best role for each team, going, all right, that's, the best player from this team, etc. And honestly, I think Marcus Stoinis has the best role at the Melbourne Stars.
Yeah.
But the problem becomes there's just question marks around that. One game he didn't bowl any overs. Just the one game. And that's put all of this doubt in our mind as to, because he is the captain, what's going through his mind when he is out in the field. So I think he has to bowl 4 overs in this team. He just has to, especially with the bowling machine, Mark Steckety, and Joel Paris has bowled okay, but Peter Siddle, he's bowled all right, but there's been some inconsistencies there. Sam Amir's been hot and cold since he's been here. Marcus Stoinis has probably been the pick of their bowlers.
He has. He's been incredibly good. He should just bowl 4 overs every game. That should be the lock.
I think with no Curran and no Webster, there is a pretty... You can take it to the bank, I think, that he will bowl. Whether he bowls 4 or not, I'm not sure, but I think he should. So I think you can probably consistently hold Stoinis just for the short term at least until Curran's back, and then you start asking more questions from there. Mate, Snoop Doggy Doggett and Cam Boyce. Tell us about that 9th wicket partnership, mate, because as a Doggett owner, I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I bet you are. So the best 9th wicket partnership in BBL history, and I did some digging on the night, and it's the second best 9th wicket partnership ever in T20 cricket. Someone a team in Belgium scored 134 not out for a 9th wicket partnership. God knows how they did that, but they were just unreal, weren't they, with the stick? The strikers, batters, we'll see how they go tonight, but they really did make batting hard. And then you got your 9 and 10 that have just come in, and Doggett with almost a 50, and Boyce looking like a genuine all-rounder. We all know that he's not. Doggett's previous best score, what was it, 10 not out before hitting his 48?
Yep. His best, 11, I think it was, his best score since in the BBL, as long as he's been playing. And he's been around a little bit. He played a fair bit for the Thunder when BBL first started back in the early days. So, yeah, crazy how he wasn't getting a gig for the strikers at all, Doggett. And now he's come back in and looked like their best bowler. The bloke looked like fucking Glenn McGrath today, putting them on a length, fucking nipping them away, swinging them out. There was good signs from Doggett. So I think he's going to be one guy we'll talk about a little bit later as a purchase for next round.
For sure.
So, look, Adelaide without Matt Short, it's yet to be seen tonight, but I think they maybe took their foot off the gas a little bit. They could have had the foot on the throat a little bit more here tonight and let the Renegades get to 130, I think they ended up with. Is that going to be enough tonight? Are the Adelaide strikers, and the thing we've got in the notes here is, are they the Stars when Matt Short isn't available?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're not going to chase this down.
Tough pitch to bat on.
It is a really tough pitch to bat on. Someone just needs to get in. Like Josh Brown played a blinder today for his 68 or whatever it was that he got. But they just need someone to get in and just anchor the innings. And do they have someone that can do that right now? Alex Ross, when he's in form, he's normally good for that. But you go through their batting order and it doesn't really fill me full of confidence. Chris Lynn, is out of form. Ollie Pope is out of form. Darcy Short's been seeing them all right. He probably needs to get away and get a good score here.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I reckon it'll be closer than people think, this one. You know, you got Doggett, Thornton, Boyce, and Pope as your tail. 8, 9, 10, 11. And then you've also got James Bazley, who, remember, is like definitely not a reliable guy with the stick. Yeah, you can hit a big ball, but if you're asking him to stick around for a little bit and play an anchor role, he's not doing that. So you're basically looking at your 7 through to 11 there are pretty dicey. So if they can get a couple of early wickets and they get through Alex Ross, who usually does a good job anchor in the middle, they could be on. You know, they're going to need every bit of Jamie Overton tonight, and super coaches will as well, I am sure. 100%. But yeah, look, we're obviously going to. There's only 2 teams left on the double horse: the Thunder and the Hurricanes. Is it time now to start targeting best available? Looking at the best player available at this point.
I think it's a combination of both, Braino. So we're going to get into the games for round 5 later, where we'll see that Thunder are one of those teams that potentially could have a game next week where the weather is not going to play a factor. So are we going to go early on Thunder players knowing that we're going to definitely get a game out of them this week into their double? For me, probably. But then we've got the Hurricanes as well. So Hurricanes probably less appealing in a way. I like Chris Jordan. I like Nikhil Chowdhury. They're nice, but away from Bloodstone Arena, they haven't been great. So I think I'm going to wait on Hobart. But Thunder, they've hit some form lately. They look all right. And Big Wes Agar, geez, he's throwing them down well.
He's the one guy, I think, regardless of what's going on, I think you need to target next week. I think shout out to Nathan Scoble on X, who does the predictions of the prices a week ahead. He has Agar at 148K and a negative 55 break even next week. So definitely a guy you need. Now, the question becomes, how many of them do you get? Because don't forget, they are playing Perth at Optus Stadium. That is that is not an easy road trip.
It's not.
Daniel Sam's form against Perth, I think his last 2 scores are like 9 and 7. So
check it out.
Yeah, he does not do well against Perth. So there's logic there to potentially wait a week on Sam's and go and just chase the cash. Tom Andrews has been good. There's just a bit of cloud around what his role looks like and when Tanvir Sang is back. So there's a bit to consider there, and I don't love going against Perth at all anywhere, but Optus Stadium definitely not.
The last 2 times Daniel Sams has played against the Perth Scorchers, he scored 5 points and 3 points.
Oh, there you go. Even worse than what I thought. Yeah, yuck. Yeah, look, that's something to consider. I think we wait on Sams, and I think we can probably go early on Wes Agar. Chris Green's still probably got cash to drop, but I think he's pretty close to the bottom. So if you wanted to get him now, you can. No spinners like that, like your Agars and your Connollys usually bowl well at Optus Stadium, and Chris Green is, I dare to say, probably a better bowler than both of those guys. Yep. So, yeah, I think he could be a guy you could go early on as well, but Agar probably the guy, and then chase some cash elsewhere from better roles like Chris Jordan. Mate, let's have a chat about who's hot from last week, because there was plenty of hundreds last week.
This is why I'm hot.
Now, Jackson Bird, I didn't think I'd be saying this. Jackson Bird, 140 points, 4 for fuck all. Looked like, again, prime Glenn McGrath the other night. And that just goes to show these shield bowlers and these guys that bowl long 4-day cricket, like your Doggets and your Birds, when you put it in a good spot, doesn't matter what format it is.
100%, mate. You're absolutely right. And something that's going to make you smile a little more right now, mate, is that Henry Thornton at the change of innings is on 106 as well. So he's brought up the ton halfway through the game between the Renegades and the Strikers. Josh Brown is also on 100. But, mate, Xavier Bartlett, it had pained those that traded him out after the double. But, my God, that was probably one of the best bowling, 4 overs of bowling that I've seen this year. He was moving it through the air. It was going away off the deck. He just looked impossible to hit.
4 for 10 with 17 dots. It is just nuts. He is like, and I think obviously we wanted to see this last week when they were on the double, right? So I think people are a little bit frustrated at him. Probably traded him out off a bit of a rage trade off the back of him not performing. Mm-hmm. Everybody in the subscriber chat and in the Patreon would have probably held, or hopefully held, because we were preaching all day and night throughout that break to hold Xavier Bartlett, knowing they were playing against the Melbourne Stars, and they had a really nice matchup this week. They lost, but that didn't matter for Bartlett because he absolutely tore up. And he's a guy that you're probably going to want to hold or even target moving forward. Is a guy that you can guarantee will have a quality role for the rest of the tournament. So
100%.
he will be probably a top 5 bowler, I think, by the end of the year, regardless of that double round score. So Dan Lawrence, not touching him, 160, 170K, no thanks. David Warner, and I mean, 116 points, batsman only. We know the risk with batsman only. Are you looking at Warner for their double?
No.
Cool.
No, I've got other priorities for me. And with batsman only, it just takes one seed and they're done. Like we've seen the likes of Finn Allen, who'll get a shout out later on. They look good with the stick when they're on, but again, they get one peach and it's all over. So,
and the way that these bowlers, the way these bowlers have been bowling in this tournament as well, there's some quality bowlers out there. So it just takes one good rock. And I think, even that cash can dry up in one game, really. So, if Warner goes out there at Optus Stadium and gets an absolute fucking seed from Lance Morris in the first over, you're in trouble. So,
mate, think about it. Batsman only, and you're playing against Berendorf, Richardson, Ty, Morris. Like the list goes on. There is nothing easy about facing those bowlers on a fast Perth wicket.
Yeah, for sure. Deadly's given us a little weather tip early, saying the second game of the Thunder double has a 70% chance of rain. Deadly had to get his new fucking calendar for 20 check the weather forecast for that game. Just
unreal.
Bloody hell, it's like 10 days away. Anyway, we'll move on. Chris Jordan, 114 points. Horse. He's a guy that's on my radar for sure.
Oh, 100%. He's only like 105K at the moment, Braino. That's probably as cheap as he's ever been.
Yeah, he'll be 125 after this week. So I think regardless, I think he's probably underpriced by about 20 or 30K. So I think it's the right time to get Chris Jordan. I think his price has bottomed out and he'll start to climb again. Maxi Bryant, 112, played the best innings of his life, I think, for the Brisbane Heat the other night. Wasn't enough for them to get over the line, but fuck, he hit everything out of the middle. So again, we're not looking at him is because he is a batsman only. And also the role isn't great. Batting at 5 and not bowling probably isn't a role that I'd be looking at. Wes Agar, 106. We've talked about him enough. We'll mention him again soon so we can move past him. Brendan Doggett, 103. Another guy you definitely need to be looking at this week. That was 103 before this game. So I think currently he is sitting. Let me check my team. 178, Brendan Doggett's on. So he will make.
He will be one of the top scorers from this round.
35K this week if he doesn't do anything with the bat. So, definitely a buy at his price next week at around that 100K. Neil Chowdhury, also a guy that we're looking at, 100 points, probably bottomed out in price. I think he's sub 100K at the moment, Horse.
I'll check that. I think he might be just over 100K. I'll check it out.
But the role, it looks like he's going to bowl. They obviously haven't had Paddy Dooley in this team.
You're right. 94K. He's dropped 50K.
There you go. So he's a guy that's bottomed out in price. He's got his first score. It's going to recharge that cash gen back up. And obviously he'll have that double in round 8. I feel a lot better, funnily enough, targeting Hobart Hurricanes players over Thunder players for some reason, even though they're both ordinary teams. I just feel like there's more favour looking at. I think that you could probably get now or next week, knowing they won't drop cash before their double. Talk to me about your boy Stoyne, 96. He was all right.
Yeah, I just didn't trade him out because of the short scenario and I needed someone to play. Yeah. So,
worked out well.
Yep, I'll take that. No worries at all. But, mate, your boy, I want to give this guy a special shout out. Finn Allen. Finally, he makes it through the first over. And what do you know? He makes 50. We were in the chat a couple of days before it, weren't we?
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about, I reckon he's due. We reckon he's due. And we had a look, and Deadly, who's in the chat at the moment, who, by the looks of it, is standing on top of a weather tower somewhere in Sydney, wetting his finger with his finger in the air, checking out to see whether it's going to rain or not. And we're like, it's paying $580 for a 50. Let's get on. And sure enough, 50 on the dot. So 85 for Finn Allen, and hopefully that sees him back into form.
I don't think it's hard to say, but you know how it's just one innings that get things going? Like, is he a purchase now? Because we had a few questions like that in the WhatsApp chat. People saying, should I get Finn Allen? Like, at the price, he's still going to drop money this week. That's how high his break even was. He scored 85 with a 94 break even. So now his price has bottomed out. at around that, I don't know, 80K, 85K mark. Can we buy him now?
Yes. I think at a bat only, if you need a downgrade target, yes.
Up against the Thunder this week at home as well at Optus. You know,
I feel a lot better about Finn Allen than what I do Dave Warner.
And it's price dependent too, right? We're paying 130K for David Warner. We're paying 80K for Finn Allen. That's the difference. I think. Yeah. I can take a batsman only sub 90, sub 100K as a bit of a flyer. But what I don't like doing is paying top tier for batsmen above that 140, 150K mark. So yeah, you can take a flyer knowing that he's got a negative break even as well. And hopefully this gets him going. But Horse, we're talking enough about the hot guys. Let's have a chat about plenty of the cold guys this week. Very cold, very, very cold for Jacob Bethel in game one. Now, he got 23 off 21 balls today, but that didn't really probably score up too much with no strike rate bonus. So he'd probably finished the week on 25, which is yuck. That's probably one we got wrong. We were pretty high on him as a pod. In saying that, though, he does have a 30-odd average at T20 a 56 average at T20 international level, striking the ball at 167. So, like, the pedigree is there at international level. We know he's a talent.
It is.
He just hasn't been able to get going. Maybe it's due to the fact that he can't acclimatise as quick here. We've talked about that a little bit for a few of the Poms coming over as Ollie Pope. So maybe that's the case.
Yeah, I think you're right. Lockie Ferguson, mate. Deadly spill with this guy. Just needed him to take a wicket for his multi, but no good. A score of 10 this round. And Fergus O'Neill is currently sitting on 10. I think he got a couple with the bat today, but hopefully he's going to get a couple of poles on that dangerous Marvel wicket. Aaron Hardy, 2. Not really going to get into it. He's a bat only at the moment. Got a good seed. See you later. That's the danger game that you play with a batsman only. Before this game, mate, Lloyd Pope was sitting on 0. He took a couple of wickets this game, and I believe he's taken a catch as well. So that's got him going. Chris Lynn, 1. Yuck.
I bought him this week.
Bought him.
Panic bought him at the last minute because, and to be fair, the panic buy here, the panic change in trades got me Brendan Doggett. So you know what? I'll take the win with the loss. But I thought, you know what? I had, who did I have in my team? I had, it was someone expensive. And I ended up pivoting because I wanted to get Jacob Bethel and I didn't end up getting him. And when there was a change, when Liam Scott was out. So I ended up quickly changing the Liam Scott trade to Brendan Doggett, but then I couldn't afford whoever I had in my team at that point. I can't remember who it was. So I went and then I had to downgrade to Chris Lynn at that 129K mark or something like that. So yeah, not ideal, but still okay.
If Chris Lynn fails again tonight, there is every chance he's got a break even of 112. He could end up at almost 100K.
Well, we're seeing him open the batting here with Darcy Short. So taking me back to my Brisbane Heat days where he used to just pummel everyone everywhere and he's just nearly chipped one to mid-off on his first ball. So, not good signs for Chris Lynn. He's severely out of form. Liam Scott with a big donut after scoring 0 in game 1 and having a DNP in game 2. So that is a shame for Liam Scott owners. But in saying that, I mean, he is 50K, so it's not like he's going to lose mass cash. You're probably going to need to move him on at some point, though, in the near future. Yeah. So that's a little job there for Marie Kondo next week.
That's right.
Jamie Overton was cold before. He started off as a 3 with our captain. Now he's on 69, thankfully, so he's salvaged that a little bit. But again, 83 or 84% of the top 1% of teams had Jamie Overton as captain this week. So for the most part, 10% still had Matt Short as captain. So for the most part, it's not really going to if you're looking to climb ranks in Overton. A few other cold ones, mate. Hope with a 4, Swepson with a 0. Colin Munro looks like he's batting with a toothpick with 1. Matty Kuhneman with 2. McSweeney with 9. Benny Duckett with the Golden Duck and a 0. Hilton Cartwright with a 2 and Tommy Rogers from the Stars with a 6. They're all round up the cold guys for this week. Now, enough about talking about last week, mate. I'm sure that people are pretty happy to move on from round 4 after this game. So. Let's preview round 5. Now, round 5, game preview is, of course, brought to you by the Standard Squeeze, helping you drink responsibly and conveniently. You can go to thestandardsqueeze.com. You can use the code IFS15. It'll get you 15% off everything in store. So thanks to the Standard Squeeze for supporting the show. And of course, they give away the Squeeze of the Week. And the Squeeze of the Week horse goes to Mark, coach of Loch Nessie. What a nice little team name there, with a 1261 into 45th overall horse. Massive effort from him this week.
Yeah, huge. Congratulations, Mark. Hit us up in our DMs, mate. You will be receiving a prize pack. Thanks to the guys at the Standard Squeeze. But also, Braino, I want to start giving a shout out to who's leading our unlimited competition, because, as our people at home are aware, whoever wins this competition are going to win a SuperCoach Champions ring, thanks to the guys at SC Rings. And at the moment, it's DJ Bravo Champion, coached by Adam, who is leading our unlimited league and is currently sitting 12th overall.
Oh, 12th. Okay, well played. Good luck to Adam on the run home. There's only we're nearly halfway. Essentially, we kind of are halfway, right? We've got 5 rounds to go. So we'll be cheering you on, Adam. And Mark as well in 45th. We know how volatile BBL SuperCoach can be. So anything can happen from here. So hopefully the boys put in a good show for the remainder, and hopefully they'll listen to the podcast. So reach out to us, Mark, and claim your Standard Squeeze prize pack, mate. Congratulations. Bit of unique approach to the schedule, isn't it? Every single team on the single for the first time this year.
Yeah, it is. Before we move on, mate, I just want to give a shout out to the 18. That's right, 18 people that are in our unlimited league that are inside the top 100. We've got quite a few people who are within a chance of winning the title there, mate.
That's pretty awesome. Good to have a lot of successful super coaches in the Insight Unlimited League. Now, also, we do actually, and thanks to everybody out there, we currently have the number 1 league in BBL SuperCoach right now in the Insight BBL League. So if you want to become a part of the Insight BBL Unlimited League, 650202 is the code to be in the number 1 league in the tournament. Let's have a chat about round 5, mate. We've got a double header tomorrow, which is going to be an absolute belter. A double header starting at 6 o'clock. We've got the Heat at the Sixers, which is a home game at Coffs Harbour Stadium. But Horse, big concerns around the weather.
Yep. It might rain. So Ollie, he might get his wish. It is going to rain late morning, early afternoon. You're a Sydney man. Coffs Harbour, is it likely to hang around? Because it's looking like 5 to 10 mil, or that's what the weatherman or woman or person is predicting.
Yeah. It never doesn't rain in Coffs Harbour. I feel like every single year when there's a game at Coffs Harbour, it gets washed out or delayed. Like it's just a shit place. I love Coffs Harbour. It's a shit place to play cricket just because there's so much rain around and so inconsistent with the weather. So for me, I'm very worried that we're going to either see a limited game where we're going to have to play around with our trades a little bit. But the beauty of it is the first game of the round. So we can be pretty fluid with our trades, but do remember that as of 6:05 p.m., regardless of the result or what's happening, if the game's delayed or whatever, the lockout still occurs right on 6:05 p.m. So any players you have in your team at that point will be locked out. You can't trade them out. So you're going to have to make a decision before 6:05 based on what's happening with the weather, which does make it quite tricky to get the move right. You've got to do a bit of guesswork.
Hey, Braino, Jasper brings up a good point. Test cricket tomorrow into a double header for BBL. I'm going to have to tell the missus and kids they're not going to see me all day.
Yeah, just lock yourself in the little study there, mate, and you'll be right to go. I'll be there. Yeah. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? And it's a Friday, and you know the best thing about Fridays, Horse? My kids at daycare. Liam goes to daycare on Thursdays, Fridays. So
is he aware he's having a sleepover at daycare?
Yeah. Oh, mate, trying to drop. He has a little bit of a tantrum when I drop him off because he knows the cricket's on. He wants to come home and watch the cricket. It's going to be a good day. But let's have a chat about this game. Let's assume that it gets on, right? Mm-hmm. Nisa probably comes into the team for Presswich, I would naturally assume. But we've also seen Tom Banton drop out of this squad. He's not named in the squad. He's been replaced by Tom Allsop, who will take the gloves without Jimmy Pearson in this team. So no Banton. Right. For anybody who took a bit of a pod punt on him, unfortunately, Tom Allsop now returns from that quad injury that he missed round 1, 2, and 3 from. So your boy as well, your loop option, Jack Wood, he's back.
The guy with the best hair in the BBL. Chris Lynn, you have nothing on this guy. Jack Wood, he's back. Are we going to see him open? Because the Colin Munro thing, it's just not working, mate. No,
he's not playing well. I do think that Wood opens. I think I think it makes sense for him to open.
Mm.
For
They
me,
look
I
good.
think because Allsop's not an opener, I think Allsop will probably bat like 4 or 5. So
Okay.
someone's going to need to come up and open with Banton out. So I think it's going to be him. Horse, you got a nice little stat about the last time the Sixers played at Coffs, though.
Yeah, so the last time the Sixers played here, they batted first and they made 203 and then bowled the strikers out for 144. The Aussie great Steve Smith made 101 in this game, but the Sixers took 5 the Sixers spinners, took 5 wickets between them. Murphy took 3, and everyone's favourite spinner, the Sock, took 2. Dwarshus also took 3 for 28 here. So it was a 50-50 spinners to pacers who took the wickets here. So I would envision, Braino, that if it does get on, like we say, but there is that chance of rain, it's going to be overcast. It's probably going to favour the quicks a little more.
I would naturally assume so. I think when there's rain around at all, often it doesn't favour spinners, especially for a couple of reasons. One, because the ball's jagging around everywhere, and the more pace there is on the ball on slow wickets like rain-affected wickets, the harder it is to play. Spinners don't get an advantage there. But also, when there's dew on the outfield or rain or whatever, or the outfield does get wet, it is really hard for spinners to grip the ball. So they do definitely not bowl as well in wet conditions. So I think we'll probably see that come to fruition, I think, with the pacers in this game. If you do have a lot of Heat and Sixers players, I'd have a contingency plan if this game is
100%.
looking like it's going to be washed out or delayed. How many do you have of both of these teams at the moment in your team?
I'll tell you in a sec. I think it might only be 2.
That's good.
I've got Jack Edwards, and I've got Jack Wood and Paul Walter. So 3.
Okay. I've got Bartlett, Johnson, and Edwards at the moment. So
okay,
maybe I'm going to have to look to trade one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love it, but I think maybe the right thing to do here in this situation is to put the emergency on them and loop them in game 1 if you're not 100% certain that could be the play, because then obviously they might play and then you can get their points somehow. Because as we'll mention later, and we're talking loops and VC, this is the last week you can use the Will Salzman loop because Thunder play game 2, but then they play game 1 for every other game for the rest of the year. So use your Will Salzman loop effectively this week by using his DNP, by getting an emergency on someone from the Heat or the Sixers, and probably your VC as well if you wanted to go down that route.
That's right.
Let's talk the second game of the doubleheader, Horse. We've got 9:15 p.m. late start over here in the East. Thunder are going over to Optus Stadium, play the Scorchers. And we're going to do something we haven't done all season yet, Horse. And we're going to hop on live on YouTube, and we're going to commentate this one from a Supercoach perspective. I'm actually really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I, mate. We've done a little bit of basketball commentary in the past, and we haven't really dabbled into the cricket, but with your cricketing knowledge and with me just loving talking shit, I think this might actually go all right, mate. So if you want to join us, 9:15, put the TV on mute. You don't have to listen to Junior and those guys. Braino and Horse, live from 9:15. We're going to commentate our way right through this game. And
it'll be Supercoach related. It's we'll talk cricket, obviously, but we'll be relating most of the stuff we're talking about to Supercoach so you guys can get a bit of a gist on what's happening. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that, mate. The predicted ins and outs, the weather's good in Perth, as it always is. But what's happening with Ashton Agar at the moment? Back spasms from last game, didn't field, looked a bit ginger.
Yep.
Apparently, it's okay. And apparently, we'll probably see him. That's the word, is that he's looking likely. Yep. But again, back spasms are so inconsistent. You can't 100% know whether he's going to pull up all right on the day.
No, so we're going to have to wait for teams to come out before we know for sure. Back spasms can flare up at any time. But with what Damo was saying in the chat earlier, they're hopeful that Richo is going to play this game. So we'll have to wait and see with that one. Mitch Marsh, what are you thinking?
Sorry,
do you think he just stays with... What?
Sorry, I'll cut you off. Richo hasn't been named in the squad, so he won't play this game. But beautiful. I think we're talking about moving forward back end, maybe second game next round. Richo won't play this game. He stays with the squad, and I think Marsh will stay with the squad too. But again, we'll talk about round 6, I think, when there's every chance he does. Sorry, I cut you off.
That's okay. Mate, Perth are so good at home.
I'm worried about Thunder players. aside from Wes Ager, just due to cash generation reasons, I'm just concerned about going early on too many Thunder guys.
Yep.
What are you thinking?
With the weather being around, do you almost jump on? You've got to have that contingency plan in case it rains at Coffs Harbour, and there's potentially another game where it's going to rain. Do you jump on Thunder players early knowing that they're going to get a game in?
Yeah, probably. I mean, who are you buying from the Heat or the Sixers anyway? Like, I don't know whether we're making any purchases around Heat or Sixers, if I'm completely honest. I don't know there's anybody aside from Nisa, but I want to see his cash drop a little bit before I buy him. For me, I'm probably targeting Thunder, Hurricanes. Who else am I buying? Maybe a Scorchers player. They're playing at home against the Thunder. That's probably where my head's at. I'm probably looking towards those games. Just knowing that they've got doubles ahead. But I'm still trying to pick the best player available as well in this round. I'm doing a bit of a Marie Kondo clean out, as you'd see in the thumbnail of the podcast. So just trying to get rid of a bit of dead wood, I think now. So but
Jack Wood's playing. I see what you did there.
Yeah. Did you like dead Jack Wood? Yeah, just trying to just move a bit on. You've actually got some wood to move on. It just depends how he goes tonight because he didn't open the batting. So he plays for the Heat. Don't disregard. Saturday, 7:15 p.m. We've got the Renegades at the MCG against the Stars. Weather's good. Top of 38 and no rain.
Going to be hot.
Yeah, that's a stinker. What are you thinking with the Stars and Renegades lineups, mate? Because it looks like the Renegades lineup's pretty solidified at the moment.
Yeah, I can't see the Renegades changing too much next round. For the Stars, your guess is as good as mine. What are they going to do with their bowling stocks? The bowling machine, does he stay?
Well, I mean, Brody Couch was the guy getting all the run at the start. He played the first 2 or 3 games and, everyone was thinking, oh, well, he's going to be the guy. Siddle's played a couple of games in a row, I think 2 or 3 games in a row, so he's due a rest. So the natural rotation that they've got going on at the Stars means that someone's probably going to miss out at some point. Maybe Brody Couch comes back into this squad and one of those guys in Steckity or Paris or Sid will get a rest. Steckity took 2 wickets and looked really good with the new ball, but then also looked like a jugs ball with the old ball at the end in the death. So,
can I ask you a question, mate? Just off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time you saw a team do well that had a policy like the Stars do with changing their bowling lineup every game?
Well, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit in terms of the consistency for the Melbourne Stars already, haven't we, on this podcast a couple of weeks ago, or even last week? Like when you change things every single game, no one can get a good feel for their role. You look at poor Sam Harper, man. Like, I give him a little bit of shit, right? And he hasn't been good. I reckon every single time I've owned the bloke, I've cursed him. Something's going on there. But how are you supposed to get him in form when he opens one game, he bats 6 the next, and then he bats 3, and then he bats 5, and you can't get a feel for the game. You're coming in at different situations every single time. The bowlers are bowling different situations. Some are bowling death. Steckity bowled death the other night after not playing a game for 5. So there's just zero consistency. So there's a little bit of a concern there around the Stars moving forward. And yes, that's exactly what happens when they're inconsistent. They win a game randomly out of nowhere. But I wouldn't be banking on that happening moving forward for the rest of the tournament. I think they'll be lucky to win 2 more.
Mind you, that was the 3rd longest losing streak ever in the BBL. It's going to take a bit to knock over the Thunder's 21 losses in a row, though, Braino.
We saw that pop up the other night and we all said, holy fuck, the Thunder lost 21 in a row. That's putrid.
They were worse than the Stars for a long time.
No good. Look, can the Stars win 2 on the trot? I don't think so. I'm going to say no. I think the Renegades are going to be too good. They're a better squad. I can't see what's his name playing, Bo Webster. He won't play because he'll be playing the Test.
He's playing in the Test.
Yeah, so obviously no Curran as well weakens them. Dan Lawrence, I don't know whether he covers Curran's role as that death bowling quick. So I think Steckerty's probably going to have to play if they think that he's going to be the natural fast bowling cover for Curran. So, yeah, that's a big concern if you're going to rely on the bowling machine to do that job. I'm watching Chris Lynn put the ball to all parts in this game, it's very arousing.
Yeah, good. Mate, Sunday, 7:15, Strikers versus the Hurricanes down at Ninja Stadium. The weather, though, it's another one like our first game between the Heat and the Sixers. Cloudy, top of 21, and a 90% chance of showers at start time.
Yuck. And the problem is they play the last game. So you trade in a ton of Hurricanes players and then they don't play. You get DNPs and you're screwed. So next week could be a really tough week to navigate because if the 2 rain days were early in the round, you can navigate that. You can just move your trade back. You can't do that here. So, yeah, look, I'm going to be much more cautious on my purchases because I was looking at CJ and Chowdhury as buys this week. But I'm going to keep a really close eye on what the weather looks like over the next 24 hours before game 1 because if it's looking like it's going to rain out, I'm probably going to flip my trades to someone else just so I can have someone on the field for the week. Nathan Ellis, he's back. He obviously missed last game with illness, so he should come back into this team hopefully. But the big question of the round is, does Matt Short play? And if he does, how do you play it? You're fine because you've still got him. But you also need to make a decision on what you're going to do with that cash horse, and everybody else does too that has Matt Short. Are you going to wait for the last game of the round and then he doesn't play again, and you've got 248K sitting on your bench doing nothing for you for 2 rounds in a row?
Yeah, it hurts. But sometimes when you make your bed, you've got to lay in it. So for someone like Matt Short, when we're coming into 5 rounds where only 2 teams on the double and I want to play my best players, he's still comfortably in the upper echelon of players in this competition. So he won't be getting traded out, and I'll just have to navigate my way through that.
Fair call. I guess, there's a lot of other people, 40 or 50% still in that position with Matt Short this round. So, they can take plenty of that from what you said. Now, we talked about Hurricanes players. I've got a question for you, and it's a bit of a spicy one.
Okay.
Now, the strikers have a round 6 bye. We know Jamie Overton leaves after round 8, so he will only miss 1 game of the tournament, but he will be expensive. He probably loses cash this week. So we're going to see potentially his cash top out after this round. Do you hold him and hope that obviously the points are going to continue to come? Or do you use his cash next week to free up a ton of money so that you can start targeting these players we want for the run home, knowing that he's not going to be here in round 9?
That's a great question. How many rounds does he miss? Just round 9?
Just round 9.
Geez, it's a lot of money for me to be holding Short and Overton. You'll have to get back to me on that one. Because
I reckon you've got to move
some
one.
difficult choices there.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think the one that you want is Matt Short. I think Jamie Overton's been elite. He averaged nearly 198 or something up until this round. But we've seen some chinks in the armor now. We've seen him score a poor score. He is human. Yeah. So for me, maybe there is a regression. Maybe you've got to use that money to try and maximize what your team looks like next week and maximize what it looks like for the round home. I'm still not 100% sure either. I don't actually know the answer. I don't feel confident about going either direction. But the role at the moment, all we can look at is the role. And you probably still want him in your team just due to the fact he's a top 5 player at the moment. Well, he's a top 1 player. So, the role is there. He's batting 6. He's bowling death. He's bowling surge. You can't argue that. So maybe you do have to cop a little bit of a cash loss to keep the points coming at this point of the year.
Yeah.
So plenty to think about coming into round 5. Mate, let's have a chat about, we've previewed all the games. Let's have a chat about the targets for trades this coming week.
Targets acquired.
Now, look at the well-owned guys, and there aren't many because it's the Thunder and the Hurricanes have had the 2 worst schedules of the competition, Horse. Daniel Sams at 16.9%. I'm kind of surprised that was so high. And then you've got Chris Jordan, Nikhil Chowdhury, and Nathan Ellis for the Hurricanes are probably the 3 most important targets, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, you could probably throw Ben McDermott in there if you're looking for a keeper.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think there was a few questions in the subscriber chat about what do I do at wicketkeeper, which is another conversation altogether because most of us have Harper and Doran. So, Ben McDermott seems like the only guy at the price I'd want to spend for a wicketkeeper.
Yep.
That's my only concern. I don't want to pay up for Billings. I don't want to pay up for Philippi at this point in time. It's just a lot of money for a batsman only. So, yeah, that's probably where my head's at. But, mate, talk to us because we've got 8 pods on this list at very, very small ownership coming into next round that people can consider to trade in next round, considering everyone's on a single. Who are we looking at?
Mate, number 1 on our list is Wes Agar. Can you believe that he is still only owned by 2% of the community?
Yeah, I think because he's only played 2 games, and look, he has performed in both of those games, so definitely a good target. For me, I'm probably going to do everything I can to get him. I've just got to work out who's going to go out for him, because you can't turn down the role coming into a double at a negative 50 odd break even. That's going to be mass cash. If he takes a couple of poles again, which he probably should, the role looks good with the ball. We're in a really good spot to make 30K. And then next minute,
100%.
he's coming into the double at 170K, 175K, and he's out of reach for everybody who wants to get him in round 6. So I think you probably need to go now or never.
Good shout.
Who's next?
Chris Green, 5.9%. I brought it up a couple of weeks ago. This is someone that I've had my eye on for a little bit. Yep. I think it's about as cheap as we're going to get him. And I feel like if you want him, now's the time that you've got to pounce. Yes, Sydney play in Perth this week, which is going to be a tough matchup. But we've seen that Sam struggles over there. Wes Agar might go okay with it being a fast, bouncy wicket. But Chris Green looked as though he was getting his little offies back into form. So at 5.9%, a nice little pod, Nath. And he's batting at 7 as well. He's batting above Sam's now.
Yeah, which I thought was really strange. But hey, if they're going to continue to bat him at 7, that's a fantastic role. I really like that.
Yeah.
Third on the list is Chris Jordan. We talked about him a bit. Scored 120 odd this week, 114, I think it was. The role's great. He bowls death. The Hurricanes have a double in round 8. He's only 5.4% owned. So you can get ahead of the game a little bit now. His price has bottomed out. He's going to make about 15 to 20K this week. So I think now you've got to get on him if you don't want to have to buy him in round 8 for 150, 160K. Now's the time. Again, we can add Nikhil Chowdhury to that list at 3.3% owned. He'll come into about 110K now with a 50 break even. He just scored 100 on the nose. So now's the time to buy him as his price has bottomed out too. So we've got a lot of these guys that are bottoming out in price that you need to buy, and we just need to choose the guys with the best roles. And I think Chowdhury bowling and batting at 5 and Chris Jordan bowling death and batting at 7 is elite at that level.
For sure.
What do you reckon? Yeah, obviously, if Mitch Marsh plays BBL, there's going to be temptation to pick him. How do you feel about buying Mitch Marsh?
I don't like it.
Nah, neither.
Have you seen the way that he's been batting with the Aussie squad? Yeah. Munro looks good compared to him.
Yeah. No, completely agree. I'm on board with that. I think I won't be touching Mitch Marsh. And look, just remember, he's playing against Bumrah and all of these elite players at international level. So let's not discount the fact that he's definitely playing at the top tier. But in saying that, when you're not seeing them that well, and coming back into a different format as well will be a challenge for him after not playing at that level for a while. So there are some question marks, probably too many for me. I've been burnt way too much in previous seasons, going back to the likes of Uzaja, Marnus, Labuschagne, and David Warner in BBL. I've done it the last 2 years. I'm not doing it for by getting these test guys in because it takes some time to adapt.
No.
We've got 3 more pods on the list, Horse. Who are we looking at?
AJ Ty. I really like his role at 6.6%. Will bowl his 4 overs, will bowl death. Starting to come into a little bit of form. Finn Allen at 8%. Your man at 80K. Pretty confident, that he's on a Perth wicket against Thunder. Who have they got? Sam's.
Ferguson.
Wes Agar. Who else do they have bowling quicks?
Ferguson's
not too bad. He got him first time, didn't he?
Tough. But tough. Again, I think if there's a player to back, and we saw it the other night, just how easy he did it when he got in. Like this is the ceiling, and I don't think we even saw the best of him the other night. This is just a taste of what Finn Allen can give us for the rest of the season, and he will be around for the rest of the season too. He doesn't miss a game, so at least you can have him for the rest of the year.
Did you see that little bit where Jamie Overton and Finn Allen went the old Irish handshake and were exchanging pleasantries?
I'm sure they were just telling each other how much they liked each other's hair. That's what I assumed it was.
Jamie Overton is a big man, and Finn Allen was eyeballing him. That gives you an indication as to how big that bloke is.
Yep, he's a monster. Can I just mention, sorry, we're the score at the moment, and I've only just checked it, Chris Lynn has scored 49 of the strikers' 52 runs. That is just fucking nuts. Darcy Short has faced 9 balls for 3 runs, and Chris Lynn's done everything else.
Hit a 6.
Well, that's he's hit a 4 to hit 50, 53. Maybe I'm a little bit behind.
Yep.
Yep. So there you go. There you go. The Chris Lynn pod actually paid off this week. How about it? But yeah, Brendan Doggett, last on this list for me. Honestly, close to a no-brainer for me next week. Looking at the role, he will not lose his spot now. Why it took us so long to get him into the team, I don't know. But he will have a monstrous break-even next week. I reckon we'll be pushing negative 100 next week for Brendan Doggett at 100K. Just buy
What
him.
about if they don't play down at Hobart?
I mean, look, you probably want him anyway.
Yep.
Just make sure that your emergencies are set. And if you have him on the field, just make sure you can get your emergency if he DNPs.
That's it. Good.
So that's probably the way I'd play it. But I think with the negative break even, you've got to get him at some point. If you can get him next week and they play, fantastic. He'll make money. If they don't play, just make sure that your emergencies are set early in the week from that first game. Game Day Squad of the Week, mate, brought to you by Game Day Squad. Now, obviously, for those of you that haven't downloaded Game Day Squad yet, get your phone out, download the Game Day Squad app, and if you do and you use the code IFSAUS as the promo code, when you download the app, you get a 3-player rare pack thanks to Game Day Squad and Insight Fantasy Sports. Now, that'll get you, it could get you a platinum card, it could get you a gold, diamond, or even a legend card if you play your cards right. And you can build your squad to take us on. And not only is it free to play, it's free to win up to $25,000 in prizes every single season. So take us on. We do have a mini league at the moment. I haven't checked the winner, but I'm going to before the end of the show. But guys, get involved. It is a different take on fantasy sports, and we love it. The scoring's a little bit different. They don't take both scores from the double. They only take the highest score. So you've got to play it a little bit differently than you would SuperCoach. And we've got a squad of the week for Game Day Squad. Horse, take it away. Who have we got in this week?
I'm going to stick with Tim Seifert. So he's been not great the last couple of weeks, but at the MCG against a Stars bowling lineup that you just don't know what's going to happen, he's my keeper this week. The bat and wicketkeeper spot, Braino. Let's go James Vince, David Warner, and as I just said with Seifert, Stars bowling isn't great. Fraser McGurk to go.
Ooh. I'll tell you what, he could be with Colin Munro, the most out of form player in the competition, Jake Fraser
100%.
McGurk. And we did this, didn't we, the other week when we took a little punt on, who did we take a punt on? James Vince, after not doing much to start the season, and then he peeled off that 100. We picked him in the Game Day Squad of the Week. So if that tells you something, maybe we're playing these players into form when we pick them in their Game Day Squad of the Week. We've got all-rounders in Stoinis, who looks like his role's a little bit better now and a little bit more reliable. We've got Jamie Overton for obvious reasons and the Chief. And we've got Daniel Sams, who, by all reports, has probably the worst average at Optus Stadium in any game that he's played. So that's a bit of a left field punt, isn't it?
It is a little bit. And with bowlers, mate, let's go with 3 proven performers. Berendorf over in Perth. Tommy Rogers, not to be mistaken for the Melbourne Stars one. It's not him. It's the Renegades, Tom Rogers. And Xavier Bartlett, fresh off the back of a 4 for 10.
Love it. 3 really good bowling options there that have been performers all year. Mate, let's move on to the captaincy and the emergency loops before we answer some questions.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
Well, with the vice captain, like I said at the start of the show, it is your last chance to use Will Salzman if you have him, because the Thunder play the second game of the round. And if you want to use the loophole, you can use him this round only before they play the first game of the round for the rest of the season. So we're going to target the first game of the round, assuming they play. So make sure you keep an eye on that. Edwards, Dwarshuis, Hussain, Bartlett, Johnson are probably my 5 picks for VC. How would you rank them 1 to 5, Horse? I'm throwing you under the pump here a little bit.
You are. And you're asking the president of the Jack Edwards fan club not to put him number 1. So he's number 1. Bartlett, Johnson, Dwarshuis, Hussain.
Okay. I like it. I'd probably tend to agree, especially first game, knowing we talked about what that wicket could potentially look like, and overcast conditions, bit of rain around, leaving the spinner for last probably makes sense. If rain's around and we're a little bit unsure about how we're going to play that, just make sure that you have the DNPs to be able to take the VC loop from game 2, which we should. Most of us should have Doran, so that should be okay. Who are we targeting? Perth Quicks potentially? Cooper Connolly?
Cooper Connolly, yep. Or for a C option, mate, you've got the 3. You've got the Chief against the Melbourne Stars. You've got Overton and you've got Short if he plays.
The Chief at the MCG is quite tempting for me. I haven't actually checked his stats there, but there would be. I feel like the bigger grounds are an advantage for him. So I kind of like the
now,
Chief.
mate, as Jacob Bethel is bowling.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, he needs to get 3 for to actually salvage a decent score this week. So
He does.
let's hope he does that for our credibility.
Continue on, mate. I'll find the Chiefs' stats at the G.
Yeah, and if Matt Short plays, he's a no-brainer to definitely captain in the final game of the round as well. Emergency players for this round that you can get on would be the probably first game in sixes or heat. Hopefully, if they play. Now, that's pending weather, so keep an eye on that. Otherwise, we're probably moving emergency to the second game in Perth and Thunder. What are we looking at, Horse? Doesn't look too good by the looks of things.
MCG's played 7 for an average of 21.
Yeah, I think probably we need to look at his stats from last year and this year rather than looking at previous years. I feel like he hasn't really come into his own in terms of that role until last year.
Let's have a look.
Let's have a look at his last couple of scores against them. Stars 10, 14, and 32. So he only scored 10 and 14 in the 2 games. Okay, I'm off, Chief. Disregard that.
I'm off him.
I'm off him.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be Matt Short if you still have him. Jamie Overton's safe. I think they're probably your 2 best options. But in saying that, you need to be careful for that rain around in the last game as well. So there's a bit going on this week. It could be quite a challenging week. And we might need to sacrifice the upside players just to get in your safer options that are playing game 2 and 3, knowing they're going to go ahead.
For sure. And if you want to keep up to date with everything that's going on, jump into our Patreon, jump into our WhatsApp group. We are all over it.
Let's rip into some questions very quickly from the Patreon subscribers. And the first one comes from Adrian. Is it go time on Sam's and Jordan? I think we can probably quickly answer this one and say Sam's no. And Jordan yes. Do you agree? Cool.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Rick's question. Best player to have on the single that hasn't been on the last 2 double rounds. So we've had we've had the Renegades on the double, the Strikers on the double, the Stars on the double, the Heat on the double, and the Sixers. So we're only looking at Thunder, Hurricanes, and Perth Scorchers.
Cooper Conley.
Yep. Can't argue with that. Then we're looking at Chris Jordan, Nikhil Chowdhury from the Hurricanes. I think Daniel Sams from the Thunder. They're probably the best player. Chris Green from the Thunder. I think those guys are probably the best. And then obviously Wes Agar, we talked about earlier, is probably going to be a buy now or never situation based on his price. So I think that's probably where I'll be looking in the coming fortnight. Zim's asking the next one, will Mitch Marsh be a buy? We'll probably give our opinion on that already. I don't think so. I don't know. Not as a batsman only. I can't see him bowling at BBL level. Causa, who are the best all-rounders for the upcoming schedule? And also, is Wes Agar still a buy? Yes, absolutely. Wes Agar is a buy. And Corey, who's the best all-rounders for the upcoming schedule? I think we just mentioned it, didn't we? Daniel Sams, Chris Green.
Probably not Daniel
Jordan,
Sams this week, the week after, but Chris Jordan, yes.
And Nikhil Chowdhury. I think we can probably throw all those guys in that category as the best all-rounders coming up with double game rounds remaining. Conrad, is Bartlett a good buy? Looks lethal.
Yes. I really like him.
Now, he should hold his price this week, which
so 180K.
108. Yeah, okay. So the question becomes, would you sacrifice purchasing a Wes Agar or someone like that just to get in Bartlett?
I'm going to throw you a curveball.
Okay.
Brisbane have got singles left for the year.
Yep.
Stars have got singles left for the year. Could you downgrade Maxwell into Bartlett?
Absolutely, you could.
There you go.
There's a known role there in Bartlett versus we have no fucking idea what's going on at the Stars with Maxwell. So, yeah, definitely. I think I'm pretty scared not to own Bartlett at this point, just seeing what he did the other night. Yep. He's a very good option moving forward. Rick,
I was pretty scared not to own Jackson Bird until he got dropped.
Well, yeah, he's been rested, you, not dropped. So he's getting on old Jackson Bird. So needs a bit of a break. Rick, what's more important, moving on dead players like Mackenzie, Baisley, and Salzman, or preparing for the doubles?
Hopefully they're still breathing, but I would be trying to get players in on the double. Yeah.
You know what? I might go against you. I think Wes Agar, yes, get him. But I don't see anybody next week being I must get them now situation. I think maybe Chris Jordan, maybe. But honestly, like, what are we going to do with all of these DNPs on our bench? Hamish McKenzie hasn't done anything for a while. I don't even see him breaking into this team again. So I think he's going to be a long-term DNP. Baisley, we don't know what's going on. You've also can add Liam Scott to this conversation now. Salzman hasn't played a game and won't play a game all year. Sam Constas will probably come back from round 7 for a few games before he goes back to Sri Lanka. Now, there's a lot of players on our bench that aren't doing anything. Add Joel Davies to that conversation, who's just sitting there doing nothing. Jake Doran. You know, like, we do need loops, but you also need to clean up your mess on your bench. Like, I've got a couple of guys I'm going to need to ideally move on and try and make some money because cash generation's been putrid up till now.
It's been poor, yeah.
I'm going to use next week to do a bit of a cleanup of some of these players. That's probably the way I'm going to approach next week. And then from the week after, I'll go heavy on Thunder. And to answer Mark's question, who's got a really good one, how many Thunder players do you plan to have for their double? I don't think I want more than 3.
No, 3 is probably max.
Especially just because we know how up and down they have been over the last few years. You know, and yes, they've been better now, but just we need to remember they're still the Sydney Thunder. And I don't see too many people putting their hand up aside from the Daniel Sams, Chris Green, Wes Agar are probably the 3 that I want.
Yep.
To answer your question,
I'm not going to talk into anyone else.
No, not at all. Sorry, I've got one more here I didn't put in the questions here, but from Braden, who are the 10? This is going to be a banger. Who are the 10 guys with the best roles that we should be looking at for the remainder of the season, given the lack of doubles moving forward?
If you don't have horse number 1, mate, yeah, you're playing the wrong game.
Who are we looking at? 10. We've got 10 guys.
Let's look through it. So from the Heat, Bartlett, Johnson,
Nisa.
Strikers. What's that? Sorry,
Nisa as well.
Nisa as well. Strikers, do we include Overton, given that
Matt
he's
Short.
leaving in round 8?
I think Overton up until... Yeah, I think you still get Overton. But at the price, I don't know whether I'd buy him if I didn't have him.
Yep. Hobart, we're looking at Jordan and Nikhil Chowdhury.
Yeah, you can have a cheeky little punt on Riley Meredith. Should make a little bit of money, I reckon. He's been okay. But from an all-rounder perspective, he doesn't fit that bracket. So then who have we got?
Both Melbourne teams.
Stoinis.
Chief.
That's probably it.
I actually don't mind Tom Rogers from the Renegades as well.
Yep. And then what other teams have we missed? Perth. Connolly. Cooper Connolly, if you don't have him. Aaron Hardy, when he bottoms out in price and starts bowling again, could be a cheeky little pod round 7, 8, 9.
Yep.
And then all the bowlers. Hard to go past any of the bowlers if they play aside from Matt Kelly, really.
Yep. Who else have we forgotten? The Thunder and the Sixers. Jack Edwards.
Yeah, Jed's the guy over there. Benny Dwarshus, probably a very close second at the Sixers for me.
Yep. And then for the Thunder, just the 3 that we rattled off, Sams, Agar and Green.
Yep. And Dennis makes a really good point
10,
makes a really good point in the chat. Salzman may be losing his relevance as an NPR, but if Baisley doesn't play, he has the perfect schedule for looping moving forward. And the same applies to Liam Scott. So really good point from Dennis. Absolutely. Guys, that'll just about do us, I reckon. We've come into the end of round, and my KO just shit itself as well at the back end of this game, so I don't even know what's going on in the score. You want to update us on the score, Horse, if you've got it in front of you?
Yeah, mate. Chris Lynn is 71 off 43.
Oof.
And Darcy Short is 19. You're going to get a lot of points out of someone that you thought was dog shit. So congratulations. And none of the Renegades bowlers are bowling well, so it's making me look silly. After 10 overs, they're none for 91. So... They only need, 50-odd?
Yeah.
From the next 10 overs.
Not bad. Very interesting. Okay, well, I mean, look, we've got a lot to consider coming into round 5. We're all on singles. It's going to be very interesting to see which direction a lot of teams go with this because, you know, do you clean up your dead wood on the bench? Do you attack the doubles again and get ahead early on Thunder players or start getting Hurricanes players in? Do you chase cash and build your team value up? I'm probably leaning towards trying to build my team value up as I haven't prioritized that up until now. So that's probably where my focus will be is cleaning out the dead wood and making some money coming into like round 6, 7, and then I'll go hard for points, I think, to finish off the season. But each to their own. Hopefully we've given you a couple of tools and a bit of the info to help you guys do that and make your choices ahead of round 5. Hopefully you find some green arrows as well And if you haven't done that up until now, please hit subscribe and like if you do like the podcast and want to support us. You can become a Patreon member if you want to stay up to date with everything that we do behind the scenes exclusively for our members. And there's plenty coming, isn't there? There's a Q&A. There's, trades, buy, hold, and sell article coming tomorrow, as well as a captaincy article, Horse.
There is, but tomorrow night, 9:15, you'll catch Braino and I here on YouTube commentating the Perth Scorchers game. You're not going to want to miss that. Chuck the TV on mute. Who cares what they've got to say? We're going to be commentating specifically to SuperCoach. You're not going to want to miss that.
Happy days. See you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you tomorrow night for the Perth game. See you then.